Happy Easter po sa inyong lahat.
Happy Easter, Father.
There is something different, markedly different from the days gone by in recent days. On Easter Day we splurged. Last night, the services took all of 3 hours and more. And after 3 hours of services, you had the salubong. And mine in UPS 4 took only 2 hours, but then I was back there at 4:30 a.m. this morning for the salubong. There is something different. There are dramatic changes. There are more people who stayed home, and I guess it's simply for the reason that every place we want to go to for our summer escapade is really becoming unaffordable. The traffic is unaffordable too. And you probably remember, for those of you who traveled up north, how bad it was at the NLEX from 12 noon all the way up to 12 midnight of Holy Wednesday. There are dramatic changes also in the readings. Peter, who was afraid and who denied the Lord 3 times, today is waxing very, very confident, and thus his charismatic preaching that was his trademark after the resurrection. Biglang nabuhayan si Pedro, nagtatwa sa Panginoon. Hindi na nakita si Judas na wala na sa eksena, esyena. Ang tawag natin ay eksena. Nawala na sa telenovela si Judas, hindi nagbalik loob. Si Pedro na nagtatwa ay tumangis at nagsisi at nagtika at nagbalik. At sa araw na ito ay matapang na nangangaral at nagpapahayag ng muling pagkabuhay. So from a coward to a courageous apostle and proclaimer, Peter now is this courageous proclaimer. The readings talk of joy and enthusiasm, and our theme is let us rejoice and be glad. There is also dramatic excitement, at ang unang marathon na nakatala sa banal na kasulatan ay naganap ng hindi lalaki ang unang nagmarathon, babae. Si Maria ng Magdala. Siya ang nagtatakbo maaga pa, may dalang backpack. Partida na yan, ha? Tumakbo, may daladala, may kargada. Ano yun? The spices for the burial of the Lord that they couldn't do because it was already Shabbat. But Mary early morning went to the tomb and saw with her eyes how the tomb was empty, and so she began running again. At pinuntahan yung thunders na si Pedro. Si Pedro na hindi na magkanda-ugaga. Nagsikap tumakbo kasama ang talubata, ang bagets na si Juan Evangelista. At sapagkat ang nagtakbuhan ay isang babae, isang thunders at isang bata, alam na natin kung sinong nauna. Yung bagets, si Juan. Pero hindi siya sutil, hindi katulad ng mga bata ngayong hindi bumabati, hindi gumagalang. Si Juan Evangelista na nauna sa puntod ay nagparangya, nagantay kay Pedro na thunders, at kay Maria Magdala na dala ang mga spices sa kanyang gagamitin sa burol. Hindi siya pumasok at hinintay ang matanda. And Peter saw. And from then on, therefore, the marathon became the reality of what Christian life ought to be. We are running because we are running in haste towards a goal that He has made real and palpable and reachable, because He did what He promised. He rose from the dead. Michael Ball many years ago said, "Love changes everything." Love changes everything. How nice. But I'd like to tell Michael Ball today that it is not love that changes everything. It is the Easter event that changed everything. And that Easter event, so maybe we can give credit to Michael Ball, it started out of love. From the world's most tremendous lover. In 1979, Freddie Mercury sang about the crazy little thing called love. And then a few years after, he wrote that haunting song that still makes me cry, Love of My Life. Freddie Mercury was singing about love all his life. And at some point he said, too much love will kill you. That is where I disagree. Love is what keeps us alive. Love is what keeps us running. Love is what keeps you coming back for more every Sunday. Sunday in and Sunday out. Love may well be the reason why there were so many of you who came from everywhere, from Quezon City, from Laguna. They were coming here last Easter, and Holy Thursday morning, Holy Thursday afternoon, Holy Thursday night, and then Good Friday morning. I don't know where they're coming from, but they don't look familiar. But it is love that changed everything, yes, and it is Easter because of love that changes everything. Michael Ball is correct partly, but Michael Ball talks about love in the human plane. The gospel today talks about love from the point of view of God. It has to do with love that became palpable on the first day of the week, that brought Mary of Magdala, grieving and crying and sighing, came to the tomb early in the morning while it was still dark. And how nice, because it is still dark in many places in the world. It is definitely dark in Gaza. It is dark in the Ukraine that somebody wants to erase from the map. It is dark in the West Philippine Sea where our soldiers and Coast Guards are being bombarded by water cannons. It is dark in a history where there are still Hitlers and newfangled Hitlers who want to conquer the world. But when it is dark, it is when people like Mary, Peter, and John, and all the disciples who remembered and who saw for themselves how the stone was removed from the tomb. And only God can remove that big stone. Only God has the power to turn darkness into light. And this is what we witness to today. Mary of Magdala ran and went to Simon Peter. What do you do when you have good news? You don't use telephone, you don't use telegraph, you don't use TikTok. You tell a woman. And the woman named Mary Magdala became much more powerful than TikTok and WhatsApp and X that used to be known of the ex-Twitter. You tell a woman like Mary of Magdala, a woman who was in love with a God of mercy and compassion, a God who suffered, but a God who rose from the dead to prove that victory on his side. In the first marathon recorded in the New Testament, we know the winner. The winner is not Mary Magdala. The winner is not the thunders that is San Pedro, matanda na, hindi na maktakbo. The winner is not the bagets that is Juan Evangelista. The winner is Christ who conquered sin and death. And therefore, when we know this good news and accept it deep in our hearts, then we splurge, we go on a binge. Like St. John Chrysostom, who writing about this day said, Christ is risen and you are overthrown, talking to the devil. Christ is risen and the demons are fallen. Christ is risen and the angels rejoice. Christ is risen and life reigns. Christ is risen and not one dead remains in the grave. Is this repetitive? Yes, Is this repetitively wrong? No. Because when you have good news thrives on repetition. According to the ancient Romans, repetitio mater studiorum. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Repetition is when you repeat things that you value, that you believe in. Mothers are repetitive. They always say, anak, mag-iingat ka, anak, dalhin mo to, baunin mo to, anak, huwag kang tumabi ka sa truck. Nakakatuwa. Imbis na umiwas sa truck, ay sabi ng mga Pinoy, tumabi ka sa truck. Hindi alam kung nasa gasaan. Di ba? Ang mga nanay hindi nagsasawang magpaliwanag, magpaalaala. Why? This is the repetitiveness of love. The repetitiveness of conviction. The repetitiveness of faith, and that is why kahit tayo nilalait ng mga books born against, na paulit-ulit ng mga Pilipino, we will repeat, I believe in God the Father Almighty. We will repeat, our Father in heaven. We will repeat, Alleluia. Why? Repetition is the basis of our conviction. Repetition thrives, or rather our faith and proclamation thrives on repetition. Christ has reached the finish line, and He holds the torch for us, of victory for us, waiting for our chance to reach the finish line. Life will never be the same again, yes, but we do need to run the course. We do need to say goodbye to buying votes. We do need to say goodbye to political dynasties. We do need to say goodbye to disappearing sidewalks. We do need to say goodbye to selfishness and greed. We do need to say goodbye to emperors, newfound imperialists. Binubuli ang mga Pilipino at kanila na lahat, West Philippine Sea, East Philippine Sea, ang kinina nila lahat. Kaswapangan, katakawan, we need to run the race. Christ has reached the finish line. He holds the torch of victory for us, waiting for our chance to reach the finish line, and life will never be the same again. Easter has changed everything.